Most people are completely unaware of how they are constantly interfering with their natural breathing, how their mind is constantly trying to direct it or control it, and how this overstimulates their nervous system, keeping them in a subtle state of fight or flight. And these patterns don't just affect your breathing, they affect every aspect of your life. Because the way we do one thing, we do everything. It's not really possible to separate them. So we need to cultivate more awareness, because awareness is the foundation of change. It's very hard to find the right solution if we don't truly understand what the root of the problem is. If we don't know where we're currently at, it's very hard for us to find the right direction. But this is exactly what a lot of people do today. They explore various forms of breathwork without really understanding their current baseline. And most of these methods even are considered advanced practices. Think, for instance, of the Wim Hof method, conscious connected breathing, but even techniques like box breathing and pranayama methods. These techniques require a certain foundation to be present. Certain qualities need to be integrated for us not to overstimulate the system. Most popular methods out there today, they focus on a specific technique, and often the purpose is to induce a certain state. But changing your state is something completely different than creating lasting change, and that distinction is very important, because anyone can change their state temporarily. We can breathe in a certain way to charge our system. We can breathe in a way to bring more relaxation. We can even feel blissful or euphoric for a period of time. But if the underlying patterns remain unchanged, then eventually you return to the same baseline, the same restlessness, the same unconscious habits. Because lasting change isn't just about accessing a different state. It's about becoming aware of the underlying patterns that are continuously creating your current experience. Because without the proper awareness, at best, these methods are just a distraction. At worst, they can actually harm or burn out our system. And to understand why this happens, we need to understand something fundamental about the human mind. The mind has two very different capacities. See, our reality has a dual nature. The day is balanced by the night, and we need a healthy balance between activity and rest. And our mind carries that same polarity. It either uses intention or attention, and these are the active and passive aspects of our mind. When we use intention, we are guiding or directing something. We're intending for something to happen. It's great when we do that consciously because it allows us to take part in the act of creation. It allows us to pursue our dreams and desires. However, when we're unaware, these unconscious patterns of intention actually become destructive. They cause us to force and strain our system. Let's say you're working on a specific task with a tight deadline. Now that time pressure starts to stress out the mind, and after a while your breathing becomes shallow and fast. So now the stress is affecting the quality of your breathing, because the breath is a reflection of the mind. And after a while it even starts to affect the quality of your health. So as you're listening to this, it might be worth noticing whether this shows up in your own experience. When you pay attention to your breath, are you actually observing it, or is the mind immediately trying to improve it? Because once we engage with advanced breathing practices, these unconscious patterns of intention, they will get amplified. Because the way we do one thing, we do everything. So how do we build the right foundation? Well, the most important quality to cultivate is breath awareness, the ability to simply observe your breathing without getting too involved, without trying to change it. Simply listening to the breath without any interference, focusing on the throat, the chest, or the abdomen, and simply allowing the body to breathe. And when you experience tension or tightness and the mind gets too involved, then gently pull it back. That's how we gradually balance these polarities. That's how the entire system can gradually settle. Now, most people, when they start doing this type of work, get actually very confronted, because suddenly they see all their patterns of manipulation and control, how they're constantly trying to direct their system. They sense the tension, the restlessness, and the discomfort, because it's all reflected in how we relate with our breathing. And some might even start to wonder if something has gone wrong in their practice. But it's just like turning on a light in a messy room. The illumination of the room didn't create the mess, it simply revealed it. And even suppressed emotions will eventually come to the surface. Often these emotions are rooted in a sense of powerlessness, a deep feeling of unsafety. Now, if we don't address those feelings, they end up running every aspect of our lives, every decision we make, every action we take. They shape our desires and aversions, and they even affect our relationships. And often, instead of embracing those deep fears, we try to avoid them. We do a lot of work and call it healing, but it's often just a temporary distraction of the mind, a temporary relief of our mental and emotional disturbance. Now, this is where I believe a lot of therapeutic or somatic work is actually lacking, because too much doing doesn't allow the system to really settle. That can only really happen if we switch into being, if we can embrace our reality without the constant need to change it. Now, that does not mean that action or intention are wrong. Not at all. They're essential. However, the question is, where are our actions actually rooted? Why do we do what we do? Because our Western society is predominantly pushing us into a constant state of activation, always doing, always more, better, and faster. And ultimately, we risk losing the connection with our purpose. All our intentional work must be balanced by the cultivation of our awareness, the deeper understanding of our internal patterns, whether it's the mind, the nervous system, or our breathing, the understanding of how we function on a deeper level. That's why breath awareness is so essential, because it offers us a practical way to see these patterns clearly. It allows us to gradually balance our system. And balance is not a fixed state that never changes. Balance basically means that we have access to the full range of our system without getting stuck, to be able to smoothly move from a state of intention to one of observation, to be able to move into action and maintain your awareness. This is important because awareness is the foundation of change. Now, if you notice some of these patterns in yourself, how the mind tends to interfere, or how there's a tendency to force, control, or stay in this state of doing, and you want to have support on your journey, you can connect with me through the link below. We'll have a conversation about where you're currently at and where you wish to go.